Good morning, welcome to CATEX-TV. My name is Frank Fortunato. This is a live broadcast from Princeton, New Jersey. Today is Friday, July 17th, 2009. It's 11:30 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time in the U.S. It's 4:30 p.m. in London. In Mexico City, it's 9:30 a.m. If you need to reach us during the broadcast, you can phone in toll-free at 1-866-67-CATEX. Overseas, our AOL instant mail address is CATEX-TV. On this day in history, we've got a couple of casualty losses, anniversaries thereof. In 1981, in Kansas City, Missouri, 114 people were killed when two elevated walkways in the lobby of the Kansas City Hyatt Regency Hotel collapsed. And also, of course, in 1996, TWA Flight 800 from JFK to Paris went down, killing 230 people. Today's birthdays, German Chancellor Angela Merkel is 55 years old today. We've got a little bit of news that we're not including. In just about an hour, the Space Shuttle Endeavour is going to begin to do a couple of slow back flips in front of the space station, where it's going to be televised very, very carefully with zoom lenses, and the images transmitted back to NASA as they look carefully to see whether or not there was any damage to the insulation. Also, some numbers have come in. Bank of America came in with very good numbers. Citibank came in with good numbers as well. So now the banks are 4 for 4. General Electric came in with numbers that just barely met the estimates. Their stock is a little bit down because some people are saying that they met the estimates only because of cost reductions, which are one-time events, of course. Stock market overall is up about 5 points right now after a good day yesterday. And now to our main news. Coming from Indonesia, suicide bombers checked in as guests into two Western hotels, luxury hotels in Jakarta, and they set off a pair of heavy blasts that killed at least 8 people and wounded over 50. The near simultaneous bombings ended a 4-year lull in terror attacks in Indonesia. At least 18 foreigners were among the dead. The blasts of the JW Marriott and the Ritz-Carlton, which are located next to each other in an upscale business district in Jakarta, blew out windows, scattered debris and glass across the street. The facades of both hotels were reduced to twisted metal. At least 2 Australians and a New Zealander are reported to have been killed. It's not yet known the exact number of victims. There's a tremendous amount of confusion still. And some economic news in the U.S. New construction of U.S. houses expanded for the second straight month in June. This is after hitting a record low back in April. Starts rose in June 3.6%, up to a seasonally adjusted 582,000. This is higher than the 531,000 annualized units expected by economists. It's the highest level of starts since last November. Some news from Hartford, Connecticut. The Hartford Financial Services Group has promoted Juan Andrade to the role of President and Chief Operating Officer of the Property and Casualty Subdivision. Previous President and COO Thomas Mara was once a candidate to run the firm, the overall group. He resigned from the board in February. Mr. Andrade, who was only 43 years old, joined the Hartford in 2006. He assumed leadership of the P&C Claims Organization at that time. 2 years later, he was named EVP for Sales and Distribution. And in February this year, he assumed the role of the Hartford's interim co-leader of P&C operations. Andrade will continue to report directly to Ramani Ayer, who is the outgoing group chairman and CEO. And Mr. Andrade will also serve as a member of the Office of the Chairman. Prior to joining the Hartford, he was with the Progressive Corporation, serving as general manager of the company's Gulf Coast region. Some more poaching going on in London from Aon. I guess this is one of the endemic problems of being the biggest elephant in the jungle. People will poach off you. Jardine Lloyd Thompson is set to continue the expansion of its aviation practice as it's moving to hire 3 senior brokers from Aon. According to sources in London, the trio consists of Bill Smith, John Cruz, and Steve Turner. Aon has refused to confirm whether the individuals had in fact resigned, but they did say, "We're a major force in aviation. We have a very strong team in the UK and globally, and we have 97 people employed in our UK team." However, sources in London are hinting that further negotiations are going on behind the scenes. One source said the situation remains very fluid. Just because someone hands their notice in doesn't mean that they'll in fact leave. Last month, Alan Griffin, the chairman and CEO of JLT Reinsurance Brokers, said that the company was on a recruitment drive to increase its aviation insurance market share. Aviation business at JLT currently employs 65 people, but Griffin says his hope is to increase this up to 100. The Canadian conglomerate Fairfax Financial has agreed to a deal for the last piece of Advent that they didn't own, so Advent will become the latest listed Lloyd's insurer to become privately owned. Advent Capital agreed to the new ownership after it had a recommended offer from Fairfax for 33.33% of the group. Fairfax said that it will pay 220 pence per share, a premium of approximately 76% to Advent's closing price of yesterday. The offer values the entire issued share capital of Advent at £94 million. Last year, Fairfax offered 165 pence per share for Advent. One analyst said, "Thus endeth Advent's existence as a quoted entity." The bid highlights the continued attractions that Lloyd's as an operating platform offers to outside companies, especially overseas companies. We'll go to a word now from our sponsors and come back with the rest of the news. Here's some sobering news. The National Health Service in England has been told to plan for a worst-case scenario of 65,000 swine flu deaths this year. That news comes as the number of people in England to die after contracting swine flu has risen sharply. Health officials in the UK now say that 29 people have died, up from 17 confirmed deaths earlier in the week. The chief medical officer said it's not yet known whether the most recent victims had underlying health problems, and all 26 people have died in England and 3 in Scotland, including a sick baby in London and a tourist with significant medical problems who died in a hospital in Inverness, Scotland. About 55,000 people reported flu symptoms last week. The advice to prepare for 65,000 deaths is based on 30% of the population falling ill. Children under 14 are being hit hardest, and the National Health Service was told to plan for a worst-case scenario of up to